Hello everyone, this is Bbeltdan and welcome to Blender. If this looks a little bit different to you, and that is because we are actually using, or I'm actually using Blender 2.8. Now, this is still a beta, so if y'all make the decision to go ahead and try to use this new version of Blender, keep in mind it is still changing, it is still updating, so use with caution. However, though, I am going to be perfectly okay with using it because I've been looking online, reading about it, watching videos, and people have commented on how stable that it actually is. So I feel comfortable in using it. But I've been kind of forced, or not really forced, but pushed myself to go ahead and start using this because of one, eventually, this is what we're going to be using if you're going to continue using Blender for all your 3D modeling. And two, there's a couple of features that comes with this new Blender 2.8 which would really help me with this project. Now, this is not going to be a walkthrough tutorial on how to use Blender 2.8. I can't go over all of the features that are inside it, and I'm still trying to learn a lot of the features. But and this is still the Daedalus Class Project video, but we're going to take a look at some of the things that Blender 2.8 has to offer, mainly starting with the primary reason on why I am deciding to use this, and that is because it has this outliner which has all of these layers. If you remember, which most of y'all probably do, in Blender 2.79 and below, there was a little box right about in here where they had all the layers, and I believe you had a total of 32 layers, 8 by 8 or 8 by 2 by 2, so 32 layers that you can divide everything into. Now, that's fine and dandy for most of the projects, but with something like this, where there's going to be so many different resources, so many different models, so many little different things, it's going to be kind of crazy and to try to manage all of that. But with Blender 2.8, you have these collections. They got rid of the layers and they have these collections here. And the best thing about these collections is one, I don't think that there's a limit to how many collections you can do. And as you can see, you can name each individual collection, so I don't have to guess which one of these layers has, let's say, my exterior hull into. I can just click on it. I mean, I could just show, like right here, here is my hull. So I can go ahead and look at it, hide it, or what have you. I can hide it in render, or I can select, make it to where I can select it or not select it. Because it says right there that that's what this is. This is a hull. But I think you could do almost unlimited. I say almost unlimited. I don't know if anybody's ever done any test, and I don't think I'm going to be using, quite testing it to its limits. I'm pretty sure there's a software limits in there somewhere, but you want to be very careful. But the other thing is that within these layers or these collections, you can also do sub collections. As you can see here, I have the collection for bridge details, and I can have all my lights under a different collection. Let's go ahead and now there we go. We can see these bridge details here. I can hide my lights if I don't want to see my lights. I can hide individual pieces, such as we have the helm right here. I can hide that, or I can hide the navigation. I can hide individual objects, group all the objects put together, which is what I have here under navigation. I got all the individual objects here, such as the chair, as you can see. I can hide that. I can hide navigational controls, and I can continue going further down into more and more details. If I put more stuff onto, let's say, the navigation control, which is right here, if I put buttons and other little devices and stuff on it, I can create another, uh, you know, another yeah, another collection inside here and name that nav control and then put all the models under nav control if I want. Just go into, whoops, uh, nav, I can't type today, nav control, and I can take this, move that into there, and now I have a whole other collection. And this right here in itself is worth getting Blender 2.8 because as you can imagine, all the different decks and each deck's going to have their own resources. It's going to help me manage it. Now there's a lot more things that's advantageous to having 2.8. Uh, so we're not going to go through a lot of it today, but just kind of touching up on some of the things is the brand new render system, which we're going to take a look at in just a minute. But let's go ahead and go back into seeing what I have done so far. Let's go ahead and hide the hull. I haven't done much with the hull, but as you probably saw under the deck, there's quite a bit of work that I've done on the bridge. I've started fleshing out some of the details with both the navigational control and the helm control. I've installed this, fleshed out some more of the details on this map board here. I've changed this station here. Rather than having it to where it extended beyond into this area, I went ahead and shortened it. I felt like that kind of left that open because it just didn't look right once I got into uh, started moving around the space and seeing once you walk into this elevator lift that lifts you up into the observation deck, there is a person standing right there. It just felt like it was a little bit more open. This is not, of course, the final detail of how this is going to look, not by the least. This is just fleshing it out because I can't remember if I mentioned in the previous episode, but this is going to look very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to look organized but not pretty, for lack of a better term, because I still have all of these little conduits that I need to start running out and showing along the wall because they're not hiding the conduits here. They're all the conduits, all the piping and stuff is going to be seen to a certain degree. From right back here, there's an access way. You might see the conduit sticking out from there, maybe, but there's going to be conduits definitely running out from the wall, between here and here, some of them running up into the ceiling, so on and so forth. But it's kind of flushing it out. And as you can see here, I got a little bit of the details flushed out with both the controls. And this is kind of what I'm going to be going with, minus a couple of extra little details I need to put in. And the maps, the map board started kind of fleshing out a little bit of the details. I'm trying to get kind of a reminiscence of moving it closer towards what we see in the original series, but at the same time trying to get it to where it still looks very uh, rugged. That's kind of a hard thing to try to do to get it to where it still looks futuristic, but still from the original series. If you're fans of Star Trek, which if you're watching this, I'm pretty sure are, you know what I'm talking about, to where the technology that they used and portrayed in the original series just doesn't look futuristic anymore. So how do you get that to look futuristic? That's what I'm going to be tackling. But let's go ahead and move on, because once we get down from here, oh, let's go ahead and hide these bridge details. See, I could just click here and hide everything. I've started fleshing out the you know, deck number 2 here. Coming in, trying to design all the little different rooms, trying to figure out where everything's at. Also trying to get an idea of how I want the hallways to look. Once again, the hallways is going to be looking just like how the bridge is described, to where it's going to look aesthetically pleasing, but at the same time, because they're trying to maximize space, they're not going to broaden the walls and try to hide all the piping right now. The piping is going to be primarily visible. A lot of it's going to be down towards if possible, towards the ground level and running up along the ceiling. And you did see a little bit of that in the original series. Every once in a while, going down the hallway, you would see just a piece of mechanical work kind of sticking out from the wall and somebody working on it. So they didn't necessarily hide everything by the time the original series. And here it's going to be a step back from that. Now, if you remember, and if I bring in signage, this area here, where did I put my, oh, there it is. There we go. This area here is going to be officers' quarters, officer rooms. Everything down here is going to be strictly just for the officers. I don't know just yet which rooms are what. This here is going to definitely be the bathroom. Yes, I am putting a bathroom in this ship. Why not? It's a fact of life. Every place needs to have it. Tentatively, what I'm looking at is this room here is going to be the kind of the officers' mess. Um or an officer's lounge, probably more like an officer's lounge. I'm not 100% positive, so I'm still thinking about it. But this is not going to be a living quarters. This is going to be kind of an area where officers can come in and kind of relax. Normal cadets and stuff are kind of off limits to it. These are probably going to be rooms for captains and the first officers and things, thinking that they would like to have forward facing windows out into the open, and then you go into additional rooms, which would be other commanding officers and chief medical officer, and so on and so forth. Somewhere around here is going to be, of course, if this is not the officers' mess, one of the officers' mess is going to be in here. This is where the officers can sit and eat and do diplomatic meetings or what have you. These interior rooms, I haven't quite decided what to do with those yet. Those might be also additional quarters and things. It all depends on how many officers that this ship is going to have, which I'm still trying to decide. And if we go down to deck 3, it's almost a repeat of deck 2. Oops, there we go. In fact, what I did is I just took, those same walls in deck 2 and moved it down to deck 3. So it's going to be almost a mirror of it. Um, I'm going to adjust some of the positions of these walls, such as here. I don't know if I want that. Well, maybe another bathroom right there. Oh, yeah, these are junior officers' quarters. Um, I might make these quarters a little bit smaller to try to so where they could fit more of the junior officers into this area. That's pretty much what I got as far as deck. I've started working on some of the other decks as well, but I don't have any details on that. Just trying to plot it out on which way it goes. And as you can see with these stairs, the stairs, you go down. If you want to keep going down, you just go down, turn around, go down, turn around, go down, kind of in a spiral motion. But there is going to be the uh, this universe's equivalent of a turbo lift right here that they can take to go very quickly from point A to point B. Um, their standard process is that they won't use that lift during emergency purposes because you don't want to get stuck into it. It's going to be open, it's not going to be closed. Think about the lift that we saw in the motion picture of the Enterprise when Kirk went on it to, go, into the engineering section. That's pretty much what it's going to be. From there, the other work that I have done is you can see right here. Let's bring up the hull, and is it collections 8? Yeah, collections 8. I've started figuring out the engineering section. This right here is going to be, of course, the warp core. We have matter and antimatter piping, which pumps up from where they store the matter and antimatter deuteronium tanks. And right here towards the back, we can see I've started trying to come up with a kind of a scale for the shuttle to see whether this as a shuttle bay would actually kind of work. And I think it probably would if we put the human models in there. I think that size for a shuttlecraft works. It still can go through those doors and fit into here. And I think there's enough space. Let's see, which button is it? No, that's not it. That's not it. Uh, Still trying to learn all these buttons. Up. Well, no, that's not it. Um, what is that? Oh, see, is it ship? There we go. Control 3. I Yeah, I think there'd be enough space in here to where a shuttle can move back. I might need to move these walls back just a little bit to have it to where there's enough room for the shuttle to come back into here and then be lowered down into the shuttle hangar where they keep additional shuttles and do repair work and everything. Because this is just a launch bay. Um, I think with all of that, I think we're pretty good. That's pretty much all that have kind of done. But before I dismiss, let's go ahead and remove some stuff that we don't really need. Let's go into here and take a look at one of the other features, and that is Blender's new rendering system. Now, if I click on this, as we can see, this looks a lot nicer. This solid rendering option looks a lot better from what we've seen before in the previous Blender. And if I go into the rendered mode, it uses their brand new EV rendering system. I think we can probably get a much better look if I go into a 3D viewport here. Let's go ahead and do the same thing. And let's go ahead and bring up this mirror here. I mean, this new system renders everything almost in real time. It doesn't render absolutely everything that you can do. It's not a replacement directly for rendering out. I mean, if you start having a lot of um, particles and stuff like that, a lot of reflections and things, I think it starts to slow down. But it does a real good job in real time rendering the engine or rendering the scene. But from here, what we're going to go ahead and do, let's go ahead and go into this mode here, and I'm going to go into shift. And for me, it might be different for you, but I do a shift, and that little squiggly line is right above the tab. And now I am in what is called fly mode. Uh, if y'all remember correctly, um, now this project I intended to where it was going to be. Let me go ahead and select that. I was going to try to make this to where this interactive. Unfortunately, Blender 2.8, they've gotten rid of the game game engine. There's a game logic here, but I can't figure out any way on how to get this to work properly. Uh, but from what I've looked at, it's pretty much game engine is no more. They kicked it out of Blender, but there is still this look, dev, fly, and walk mode that you can look. I mean, oh, look at that. See, there's another example of that Blender. It's kind of rendering a nice little. It's rendering lights pretty nice. Now this is rendering with um, environmental lighting, so you can see everything. But I mean, even here, just lighting. Look at that. That just looks good. This right here is just perfect. But oh, anyways, now right now I'm in fly mode where I can fly around. But if I press tab, it drops. It does have gravity in here and it allows me to walk through. So let's go ahead and do a quick little walkthrough of what I've done so far. So you can see right here, once again, here is that map board. And the map board is trying to replicate kind of a 3D environment on a 2D space. But from here, you have the navigational person. He can come over here and he can plot coordinates and stuff. And when he plots the path to get to whatever location you want to get to, you can enter those into the computer. The computer can check it to see whether if that's the right path that they want to go, and then he can relay those over here to the helm control where this guy plots in the course to take. We got the captain's chair and everything else. I mean, y'all seen all of this before. Let's go ahead and walk through down over to here, and we just go down. And that's kind of a look of here's a look of the hallway. I need to fix that door. That door somehow got a little wonky on me. But this is kind of what I'm looking at for the hallway. I still need to solidify that area here, but this is going to be possibly the look that we'll be seeing throughout this whole hallway here as well. It's just down at the bottom is going to probably, I don't know, maybe I might have it come out. No, actually, I won't do that. We're going to have pipes running along through here. I'm going to try to recess these a little bit more and put in kind of a, uh, grill plating to protect the lights. Try to give it that little industrial type look, which is what I'm looking for. You have all the individual rooms that they can go to. This kind of helps give you an idea of how big this room is here. I think just big enough to where you can have a nice little bed, maybe a little desk area. Here's a little bit bigger. Once again, you can have a nice little bed, little desk area right over here. I think these are big enough for the rooms and equivalent to the sizes of what they might have, uh, what we've seen in the original series. Some of these rooms I might actually put kind of a wall or knock out a wall in between the two because, for like the captain and first commander, they might actually need some bigger rooms, maybe with their own bathroom or something. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. Let's go ahead and go down to the second level. Haven't quite fleshed this out. Let's just go ahead and go down to the next wide open space. I'm going to go ahead and cheat. We're going to go drop down here. Oops. Drop down here, and this is where the computer core is going to be. This whole space right here is where the computer's at, and you can see how big that computer's going to be. And I think that's pretty equivalent to what we've seen the computer core before. Now, here we have the walkway that combines the spherical primary hall to the engineering secondary hall. This right here, I decided I'm going to try to make this area, uh, the most aesthetically pleasing. I was thinking it'd be kind of nice if along here there's actual benches where people can sit down, they can walk back and forth and just kind of admire the scene, and they managed to hide all the piping and stuff, through from right inside there. Right there's where all the piping and stuff runs, and there's also underneath piping and stuff runs through so they can hide it. So this right here is kind of like the, I'm not going to necessarily say for recreation purposes, but people can walk along, look outside, look at their ship, look in front, get a nice little obscured view of what's in front of them and what's behind them. But I think that would be kind of nice. But keeping in mind, though, that I've mentioned this before, is if there's an emergency and the warp core is about to blow and they need to, everybody living up here, they need to get going behind this wall here, between this wall and this wall, right along here. This is going to detonate, sending this portion flying ahead and leaving that part behind. So, uh, it's, got to keep that in mind. Now, behind there is going to be the warp core, which, they, of course, you're going to have. What, is it behind there or is it behind? Oh, there it is. Let's go into fly mode real quick. Yeah, here's the warp core. There's a little observation area right here. There's going to be a wall probably going through there that's going to be protecting people with a door that they can, maybe with a little ladder that somebody can walk up if they want to, look into the engineering section, but they don't necessarily have the clearance to be in there, but they want to see what's going on. Uh, go down into here. We have engineering section. Let's go into tab. That's kind of how big the engineering is. This entire area is going to be open to engineering right here, except for a hallway somewhat out there to where they can get into the shuttle area without and bypass the engineering entirely. Thinking about having from here, there's going to be some, catwalk type steps that they can get up and catwalk over and look into the through a little window to see the warp core reaction and what have you. Some computers. It's going to look pretty cool. I have an idea of how this is going to look. But yeah, they can exit into a hallway. Let's go back into fly mode. Right along here is a hallway. Then they can go through here, bypassing engineering, go into shuttle command. This is where somebody's going to be stationed at, and they're going to be primarily in control of shuttle, launch and docking procedures. And down here we have, oops, let's go ahead and go back into fly mode. There we go. And this right here is where the shuttlecraft is at. And yeah, I think that would actually work. That shuttle should be big enough to where people can fit inside it, and it still has enough room to exit out through the shuttle bay doors. So yeah, let's go ahead and I'm going to exit out. Let's go ahead and go back into mode here from the bridge, and we're going to close out this episode. Uh, Once again, this is Blender 2.8. I didn't go through an entire tutorial. I got a couple of other chip tutorials that I plan on doing that's going to show you more in depth about what Blender 2.8 can probably do. But if you would like to know more, there's plenty of other people out there. The Blender Guru, for example, that has a lot of tutorials already out and a lot of videos on what Blender 2.8 can and cannot do. But this is outside of the projects that I currently got going on, like the Akira class, for example. I'm going to start making all of my models in Blender 2.8 because it has a lot of new features which I like. I'm going to miss the game engine, but I rarely ever use that. But I was planning on actually making a game, but oh well, I might have to do something else. But yeah, it looks real good. So let me know what y'all probably think. Y'all like Blender 2.8? Y'all started using it, or y'all going to start using it? What do y'all think so far of what I've done so far with the Daedalus class ship? Do y'all have any ideas? Y'all like the way the bridge is going and the engineering room and everything? Y'all got any comments or suggestions or anything? Feel free to let me know. Love to hear from y'all, all of y'all. But once again, this is Bbeltdan. This is the Daedalus class ship in Blender 2.8. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.